Today we're visiting the Chateau de Falaise in Normandy, France. If you love William the Conqueror, the Plantagenet kings of England, the 100 Years' War, World War II, medieval reenactments, and Christmas markets, this will be your stop. This is such a historic spot that it's hard to know where to start, so we'll start with my favorite part, which is the connection to William the Conqueror. It's known for being his birthplace, although he was not actually born in the castle you see here. He was born in the castle that stood on this spot prior. The current chateau was built actually by his son, the English King Henry I. It was the seat of the Dukes of Normandy down through the centuries. William became Duke of Normandy at the tender age of 8 when his father and his uncle both died in short succession under unknown circumstances, which seemed to be sort of a habit of the Dukes of Normandy of the time. He was originally known as William the Bastard during his lifetime because he was illegitimate. You can also visit Arlette's Fountain in Falaise, which legend says is where William's father Robert first saw his mother Arlette and fell in love with her. He gained the name the Conqueror when he headed over to England, fought the Battle of Hastings and won, and also became King of England as well as Duke of Normandy, but that is a story for another time. The castle here was used by his descendants, the Plantagenet kings of England, who also inherited his title of Dukes of Normandy, and we do know for sure that Henry II and my favorite woman from history, his wife Eleanor of Aquitaine, held their Christmas court here in 1159. So it was really thrilling for me to stand here, and I always love looking out over the ramparts of castles and looking out at landscapes that probably haven't changed much since someone like Eleanor of Aquitaine may have stood in the same place and looked out over the same view. Just amazing that these castles are still here. But in a cruel twist of Plantagenet family fate, this is also considered a place that Eleanor may have been imprisoned briefly after being arrested by Henry, following her participation in their son's rebellions against him. He forgave all of the sons, but he never forgave her, and he ended up keeping Eleanor a prisoner for nearly 16 years at various locations, until their son Richard the Lionheart came to the throne and immediately set his mother free. Richard's brother King John of Robin Hood fame also used this castle as a prison for family. In 1202, his teenage nephew Arthur, who was the son of his older brother Geoffrey, who had died young, joined forces with the French to overthrow John and claim the English crown for himself. Somehow, young Arthur thought it would be a good idea to besiege his own grandmother Eleanor at Mirabeau, farther south. She and her accompanying group were able to hole up against him in the castle there, and they got word to John, who was quite a ways north in France at the time. John arrived overnight after what would be called a lightning march now, where they made faster time than anyone thought possible. He arrived quickly, and his army surprised and easily captured 15-year-old Arthur. Arthur then disappeared into Falaise Castle and probably was sent on to Rouen after that, but he was never seen again. Historical rumors abound as to what happened to him, but legends all end with the fact that he was definitely dead by the spring of 1203, probably on his Uncle John's orders. John then lost this castle and his claim to Normandy to France's King Philip II in what I will call the First Battle of Falaise in 1204. And due to another interesting Plantagenet family plot twist, Philip was not unknown to John. He was the son of Eleanor's first husband, King Louis of France. So they were not necessarily stepbrothers, but they weren't unknown to each other. Philip had actually gone to the Crusades with Richard the Lionheart, John's brother. They had a falling out once they reached the Holy Land. Philip went home in a huff, and then Richard was captured on his way back to England, so Philip and John actually allied against him and conspired to have him remain in prison. They offered more money than his ransom in order to hold him there. When Richard was finally released, Philip wrote to John a single note that said, "Look to yourself, for the devil is loosed." Philip besieged the castle, reclaimed it, and also managed to destroy the church that stood in the town at the time. So the church that's here now was built later in the 14 to 1500s. He also added the 115-foot tall Talbot Tower in 1207. The chateau changed hands multiple times during the 100 Years' War, with the English capturing it in 1418 and holding it until the siege of Falaise in 1450, when it was recaptured by France's King Charles VII, who was named the Victorious. His reign put an end to the 100 Years' War and all future English claims to the French throne. By the 1600s, the castle was more or less abandoned. By the 1800s, it was in private hands, being restored, and it was named a protected monument in 1840. In World War II, destruction came again to Falaise in a big way in August of 1944 when the Germans moved in and entrenched here and the Allied forces were adamant about keeping them from moving the 20 miles further north to Caen. Much has been written about the Battle of Normandy, but the Falaise Gap, or the Falaise Pocket, is definitely worth learning about. The town here suffered about 2/3 destruction. To the village itself, the castle was damaged as well. The Allies managed to close the gap and trapped some 50,000 Germans here, some of whom escaped, but losses on both sides were incredibly heavy. This was the decisive battle that ended the Battle of Normandy on August 21st, 1944. Several days later, the Allies then liberated Paris, but when General Eisenhower walked through here 48 hours after the victory at Falaise, he described the total carnage and damage here as one of the worst killing fields of any of the war areas. He said it was like something described by Dante. It was truly horrific. There is also a memorial to civilian suffering you can visit near the entrance to the castle here, and you can drive out to nearby areas on a lot of the hills in the surrounding countryside. There are memorials. There is the Montormel Memorial nearby, which honors the Allied soldiers who fought and died here. If you're planning a visit here, there is free parking. There is a bit of a walk up to the chateau, and in fact, this particular castle is not a good one for anyone with mobility challenges. There are a lot of steep paths and stairs, and the dungeons are not accessible to wheelchairs or strollers. There is a picnic area, and you can pick up a great histopad to walk through with, and you scan each room, and it will show you a lovely virtual recreation of each space. There is a 1-hour guided tour you can take, but it is in French, so keep that in mind. In Falaise itself, there are days when you can see what is called the Medievals of Falaise, where reenactment groups set up medieval stalls and take the town back to its medieval prior glory. There is an equestrian costume festival you can visit. There's a great, terrific Christmas market, and they have an ice skating rink, so there's lots to do here throughout the year. Definitely worth a stop. If you're planning a trip to Normandy and you love history, do not skip Falaise. We loved it here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.